I know that there's going to be plenty of opportunities for people that can't make it to witness what's going on, because you guys are videoing this whole show, and you're going to be playing it back, correct?
Correct. And we hope that Franklin County residents will take a close look at it and try to gain as much information about the candidates as they possibly can.
These are very important times, and as we mentioned many times, that it's very important that the people get involved, because, you know, Brian, the county is on the verge of some great things happening and some large improvements in the county, and we need to make sure that we have the right leaders in place to help see the future grow here in Franklin County.
Yes, that's true, and our questions will reflect that for what we're going to ask, and we look forward to hearing what our candidates have to say about the circumstances, the conditions, and what impacts their communities so significantly.
So I think we first bunch that are up to talk to tonight. It's the candidates for City Council in Cowan, and we have 3 of the candidates that are with us.
Hello everyone, I'm William Anderson. I'm running for City Council in Cowan. My wife Pam and I have lived in Cowan for more than 10 years. Both of us are lifelong residents of Franklin County. We have 4 children together. The things I'd like to see improved the most probably in Cowan would be our streets, our water quality, and just the overall appearance of Cowan when folks drive through. I appreciate your vote. Coming up on August 3rd.
Thank you. And I think the first question we have for you
is, could you elaborate further on why you did choose to run, and your focus of how you want to accomplish what you just mentioned? You more or less answered the question I was going to ask.
Okay, the 3 things I just talked about, you want me to elaborate a little bit on?
Yes, if you would,
okay.
Please.
why you chose to run.
Okay. Why I chose to run is I love Cowan. I think I've got a lot to offer as far as being able to read budgets, being able to work with the other council members that are there and the mayor to get things accomplished in Cowan, and that was the reason why I ran. The 3 things that are really important to me, there are all kind of things obviously that we would need addressed in Cowan, but 3 things that really stand out for me is the condition of our streets in Cowan, our public streets. There's a lot of money, I think, that we haven't got in the past that's going to be coming down from the extra fees on gas that was passed recently, went into effect July 1st. So now more than ever we'll actually have money in the budget where we'll be able to utilize that to improve the conditions of the streets in Cowan. So that's one way I would pay for it, and that's one of the big things that's important to me. The other thing is our water quality. And I know from my experience in working with state government, county government, city government, and even federal government, that there are a lot of grants that are out there to improve your infrastructure for old decaying pipes that we have in our streets, and those pipes picking up a lot of contaminants, and that is getting into our water tests that we have, and of course we're drinking that water. So through the use of grants and any federal or state or local money that's out there, I'd be most interested in getting our infrastructure updated to a point to where our water quality tests will be really good. We'll have good water. And then lastly, if you drive through from coming off the University of the South, a lot of tourists coming into our area, as they drive down 41A into Cowan. Cowan's a beautiful city, and I want our city to reflect that. And the ways that we can do that is any unkempt properties that we have, you know, the grass hasn't been mowed, we need to address those issues. There are statutes that are already on the book where we don't have to come up with anything new. We just address the statutes that are on the book. And, you know, things blocking sidewalks, any of those type things, and then encourage also the property owners to dress up the appearance of their property, especially on Main Street there in Cowan, where potential business owners, homeowners, new residents, anything may be driving through. We want to make Cowan a very welcoming place for anybody we may attract.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much.
So Anthony Ingle, you're next. And you have 45 seconds to tell us a little bit about you.
Name's Anthony Ingle, running for Cowan City Council. I've lived in, near, or been a part of Cowan pretty much all my life. Family's been a very big part of Cowan for years and years. And now that I've got 2 boys growing up and we're going to be fixing to be building a new house in the city limits of Cowan and stuff, I feel like I needed to kind of take my chance of giving my input and trying to help make Cowan better and ready for them for their future. So I appreciate your vote.
Thank you.
When you chose to run for city council, what was the main reason that sparked your interest?
Well, there was many, but I guess the main thing is probably the businesses that in Cowan. I mean, it seems like we get something in and it goes away. You know, we can't keep nothing in there, and which is a big revenue for Cowan. I mean, so what I think is we need to try. I mean, there's something we got to be able to do to get tourists and customers over to Cowan so we can keep these businesses in. And just like Shaw, I mean, there's got to be something maybe we can offer or step up to bring another company in to reopen that building and provide jobs for the residents of Cowan. So I'd say probably the businesses and my child's future, their children's future, is my main interest. So,
Thank you.
And your main focus, and you've kind of touched on it a little bit, but could you kind of pinpoint how you would accomplish that, or what avenues you would take to get to where you want to go?
As far as, I don't know if there's a way you can offer like some kind of maybe, I don't know a whole lot about the city level government run, but maybe some kind of tax breaks for some of these people coming in for, or just like for the Shaw building, you know, maybe you got to do something to draw them in to make a company. I mean, it's just like on a personal level, you know, why do I want to come into your shop and buy something? You've got to make it appealing to me, and I think we can do that for Cowan. If it's just in the helping advertise what business we got over there, to offering breaks or some kind of help for these businesses to keep them up and going. So,
Thank you. Kim Shelton. You have 45 seconds to tell us a little bit about you.
Okay. My name is Kim Shelton. I have lived in Cowan for 26 years. I love the city of Cowan. It's just the little town that everybody loves to go and visit and loves to help. And when I first moved here, all the buildings were full, all the businesses were full, and everybody just seemed to come to Cowan. I'm not from here. I'm from South Pittsburgh, Tennessee. But everybody I would speak to outside of Cowan would tell me how they love to come to Cowan because they have all the little mom and pop shops in Cowan, all the different businesses, and I just want to be able to help the city and help them grow. It seems like a lot of the businesses have left town because they couldn't make it, and we need to be able to shop in Cowan and help the people to where they would be able to stay here. And I really would love to be a part of that, and I would really appreciate everyone's vote. I would love the chance to work for the voters and for the city of Cowan to help in whatever way that I could to help them grow and to become bigger and better.
Okay, so back to the same question. What was basically the straw that broke the camel's back in you making a decision to run for city council?
I just really feel like more of the citizens of Cowan needs to get in, and we all need to work together to help our city grow. One person can't do it. It takes a whole group of the board to help and get the citizen, get the residents and the business owners involved, get everybody to help to where everybody would love to come to Cowan and keep Cowan going. I've seen pictures of when the railroad was first open and how they had all these big 2- and 3-story stores. I've had a lot of the people to tell me about them. And they said you would go in one store and stay all day long. You know, that your grandmother would give you 15 cents and you would be able to go in there, stay in that store and go floor to floor and just enjoy and have such a good time and talk to people, you know, people outside of Cowan, and just to make it to where people would love to come to Cowan and be, you know, be a part of it.
Okay, so again, what steps do you think need to be taken to achieve that objective?
We help with our festival. We have a Fall Heritage Festival, and it is to help Cowan. It's to help the Railroad Museum. The Railroad Museum is one of the biggest parts of Cowan that is free to the public to come and see, and we really stress to try to keep that open. And if we don't keep the tourists coming through Cowan to where they will see it and they will stop because they're interested in the railroad, go in and look, and then they would get hungry and they would go to one of the stores and, you know, one of the restaurants and eat, you know, and just help people and say, I want to be a part of that town. I love that town. You know, it's awesome. So I just think everybody just needs to work together and to where we can get the city growing and get all the businesses back and just help our county grow, help our city grow.
Yeah, well, thank you very much.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
Kim, I got a question for you. You get this one before the other two do. In Cowan, you've talked about a lot of things that are going on, but what kind of changes do you feel like needs to be made in Cowan to make it a better community?
We need to get more businesses to come in. We have had businesses in Cowan on the front streets, and a lot of the people would come out of town, come to Cowan just specifically to go to those shops to visit and to shop and buy stuff. And, you know, I feel like with part of our festival that we have going, the Fall Heritage Festival, that has brought a lot of more people into Cowan, and it helps Cowan because it's free. The whole festival's free unless you want to go up to one of the vendors and buy something. Everything is free, and we just try to get everybody to come out and help us, and it all goes to support the Railroad Museum. And I just feel like if we could all get in there together and help it grow, that, you know, more people will come to Cowan.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bill, we have the same question for you. What kind of changes do you feel like need to be done in Cowan?
I'm glad you asked. I'll mention two. I'll be brief. The first one is everybody needs to spend their money in Cowan. If you live in Cowan, you want to see great things in Cowan, you need to spend your money there at every opportunity that you're given. Buy your gas there, buy your bread there, buy your milk there. All those things help increase the tax revenue. So that's one big thing, is a big push for our citizens, and everybody's welcome, not just our citizens. Everybody that's in Winchester and Decker, come over to Cowan and spend your money. That's what I'd welcome. The other thing that I would like to see is our forefathers and foremothers in Cowan have really set Cowan up very fiscally sound as far as money in the bank. I think personally it's time to start spending some of that money on improvements around Cowan and investing it back into the community instead of keeping that money in the bank. And those are my two things.
All right, thank you. Anthony, we have the same question for you. What kind of changes do you think needs to be made in Cowan?
I'd start with trying to get the community to come back together. It's seems like over the years it's kind of dissipated and separated out, and you've got ones that wants this, ones that wants that, and because that's what's better for them instead of what's actually better for the whole town. And getting, like everybody's touched on, the businesses, the roads, you know, just getting Cowan back together as that small town at the foothills that everybody wants to come visit. So getting the community together as one would be. So.
Since you're still up there, and we get to hit you with the next question, and if you had a blank check, what would be the first thing that you would do to improve Cowan? I'm just giving you a blank check. Where would it go?
I'd have to do it. Try and draw a business in, like I've touched on. I mean, to me, it's you got to spend the money to make the money. So if you're gonna give me a blank check, I'm gonna offer somebody some incentive to bring their business over there, to where I'm gonna spend that money, but in the long run, I'm gonna get it back plus some for the city. So for businesses, advertisement, to draw somebody back over to Cowan.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Anderson? Same question for you. If you had a blank check, what would be the first thing you'd do to improve Cowan?
Well, first on my list was city streets, so I'm going to put that toward this. I would fix every city street in Cowan and make it where it would last, hopefully for the next 10, 15, 20 years. That's what I'd do.
Do you think a paving schedule needs to be put into place where
Yeah,
streets
absolutely.
are taken care of every 5 years or so?
Absolutely. You need a rotation, a maintenance rotation. You know, this year we may not be able to get to your street with the money that's available, but definitely next year we can get to your street. And if we did pave your street this year, then every 5 years, every 10 years, we need to look at that street, have someone assess that street and see how much longer it's going to last. If it's just a resurfacing, whatever it may be, we need to go ahead and do that while we don't have to spend the same money that it needs now. I would venture to say almost every street in Cowan now needs to be repaved. So that's where I'd spend that money.
Okay, thank you very much. Ms. Shelton? Same question to you. First thing you do to improve Cowan?
First thing I would do would be to get the roads. We have a lot of serious problems with some of our roads. There's one in particular, you can't go over 5 miles an hour down because it's really bad. It's really bad. And that would be probably the first thing I do, is to fix the roads for those citizens that live in Cowan. Because when you're on the board, you work for them and you're supposed to be doing stuff to help the city, you know, and you have to get together to do that. Not one person can do it, and I really believe that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. All right, guys, we got one final question for you guys tonight, and this one I want to lead into a little bit with the city has recently got the certified tax rate for the city, and I think that basically was $1.44 is what it would take to keep the same money where it was in the last one. But I think the city has chose to keep it at the regular rate of $1.53. So basically, the city of Cowan is putting a 9-cent tax increase in place this year. Our question to you is, where would you, if elected, would you draw the line on tax increase in Cowan? And we'll let you guys, we'll start with you, Bill.
You know, I think the first thing that needs to be done, if I'm elected, I'd like to sit down with the newly elected mayor and the other board members that are elected and figure out exactly what we want to do in Cowan, maybe a 5-year plan over the next 5 years, and say, here's the things we would like to see happen in Cowan that would say at the end of our terms that we were successful. So I think Ms. Joyce and the board members were absolutely right to keep the tax rate the same as it was last year to allow for some growth. I know they had some shortcomings in some of their budgets, so it will fix those shortcomings. But that growth needs to be put towards something. And as long as everyone in Cowan agrees that, you know, we need more roads, we need to improve downtown area, we need to be getting businesses in, all of the things that we come up with in that 5-year plan that we'd like to see done. As long as those things are funded, heck, I'm all for lowering taxes if we need to. The next time that the assessment will come up will be 5 years from now. So if at that point we're fiscally sound, we've done all the things that we wanted to do, you know, I'm all for lowering taxes, but I think right now would have been a really rough time to do it because they didn't have the money in there to do the things that need to be done in Cowan that we've all spoke about tonight.
Do you feel that's enough?
Say again?
The 9-cent tax increase, do you feel it's enough to accomplish that goal?
You know, I've not been privy, I guess I was privy to it, but I've not went in and asked to see where we are exactly. I think right now it is definitely enough, but without looking at the budget, looking at the things we talked about, where we need to be in 5 years, at that point, then I can assess whether it was enough or not, whether we need more or within 5 years if we can lower it. And I think I'd be good at doing that.
Kim, we have the same question for you. Where would you draw the line on property tax increase in Cowan, or would you?
I agree with the city. There are, like, and I agree with Mr. Anderson, there are times when you have to keep the upgrade on stuff. I mean, you can't just keep something running the same way every year and it stay the same. Because the more vehicles that drives across the roads, the worse they're going to get, you know, and people, I mean, if you have a lot of people, and the main road that goes through Cowan is one of the busiest roads. It's the main road, and people come from Swanee all the time. People come from Chattanooga, and they come through Cowan because they love to see Cowan. And I think to keep Cowan the same, or to keep it growing and to keep it pretty and keep it to where people would like to see it, I think sometimes, you know, especially if something happens, like with the water or, you know, something like that, I mean, you might have to. But, you know, I agree with what the city's done, 100%.
Right. Thank you. Anthony, same question for you, sir.
Well, taxes is a touchy subject when you bring up. Raise them, lower them, what's it for, what you doing with the money, you know. So I'm all for the budget. From what, I was at the meeting the last time when they approved the budget. And I got to hear a little bit of why and why not they wanted it. Some of the ones I'm all for, as long as it's going to the right places. If it's not just being blowed on this or blowed on that, you know, if it's, you're putting that money to help the city of Cowan, with your water department, your police officers, your streets, whatever it comes down to. I think if you raise the taxes, there needs, I mean, it don't need to go too high, but if it's helping the city grow, then I'm all for it. But as long as we don't go too out of control, because it's...
Where would be out of control? Definition.
I think if you're bringing in, I mean, once you get a surplus, it's time to, you know, scale back, give the residents of Cowan a break. Because they're the ones that's put you there where you're at. So give them a break and help them out like they've been helping you out the past few years of giving you that money. So I'd say once it reaches a surplus and everything's running good and smooth and you're not hurting for money, then it's time to scale it back.
Thank you guys very much, and thank you for participating in our forum.
Greatly appreciated.
All right, we're going to take in Radio Land, we're going to take about a 3-minute commercial break. We have the candidates for mayor in Cowan coming up next, and we'll have that coming your way next. So we'll take a 3-minute break and be right back.